Hello and welcome to Spectrum News. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. Governor Moeno reiterates commitment to curbing rural urban migration as Akwa Ibom State celebrates 36th anniversary of creation of state. Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly passes 6 bills into law, including 150 billion naira supplementary budget for 2023. Plus, U.S. President Joe Biden plans to give Ukraine advanced long-range missiles to help Kiev with its ongoing counteroffensive. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news, as Akwa Ibom State celebrates the 36th anniversary of its creation, the state governor, Pastor Moeno, has reiterated his commitment to curbing rural-urban migration. Governor Eno, who restated this in his maiden statewide broadcast on the occasion of the state's 36th anniversary celebration, noted that the key elements of the Arise agenda was to open up the rural areas, provide access, roads, and ignite agricultural revolution. The governor explained that the focus of his administration is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 5 that harps on improved standards of living, building on the foundations already laid by his predecessors, who provided enduring and solid infrastructure such as good road network, so that succeeding administrations can deploy resources to develop and improve the living standards of the people, especially those in the hinterland. The governor stressed that with the One Local Government, One Project initiative, creation of neighborhood watches, the teeming youths in the local areas would be gainfully employed, while at the same time peace and security would be maintained. He noted that the establishment of model primary schools and model primary health care centers to provide better health care delivery across the 3 senatorial districts was still on course. The governor further stated that critical economic viable roads construction have been flagged off in the 3 senatorial districts to ameliorate the suffering of the people of the area. It disclosed that government has acquired 50 hectares of land in each of the 31 local government areas to ensure food sufficiency and security, as well as to get the people involved in agro-allied enterprises. On the welfare of retirees, the governor explained that 3 billion naira has been released so far for the payment of retired local government primary school teachers and state workers, while government has commenced payment of leave grants to state civil servants. While stressing that education remains free and compulsory at primary and secondary school, Governor Eno reiterated that government intends to support parents with the provision of school uniforms, shoes and bursary payment to tertiary students as part of palliatives to cushion the effects of the petrol subsidy removal. Commending the efforts of past state governors, the governor felicitated the people, giving an assurance to work across party lines to advance the growth of the state. He therefore called on political gladiators to sheath their swords and work with the administration for greater good of the state and its people. Away from that, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has passed 6 bills into law, including a supplementary estimate amounting to 150 billion naira, pushing the overall 2023 revised budget of the state to 850 billion naira. This formed the crux of plenary. The report presented to the House by the House Committee Chairman on Finance and Appropriation, Itorobong Etim, informed the Speaker and members that the committee met with heads of government, ministries, departments and agencies, including the Commissioner for Finance and Accountant General, to obtain their views on government priority projects and programs, revenue, debt profile and sources of funding as it relates to areas of augmentation or savings in the supplementary estimates. The Uran State constituency representative stated that the supplementary budget would be funded through derivation revenue of 80 billion naira, direct credit substitute, discounting facilities internal loans of 54.536 billion naira and an opening balance of 15.464 billion naira, bringing to a total of 150 billion naira. Etim added that the supplementary budget of 150 billion naira would be made up of 50.310 billion naira for recurrent services, while 99.689 billion naira would be for capital expenditure.
Was satisfied with the supplementary provision that it is born out of the need to realign the priorities of the rice agenda of the present administration. The 2023 supplementary budget is also prompted by the need to provide for new projects and programs, particularly as they arise from the electoral promises of His Excellency the Governor. Recommendations. Arising from the adjustment in the supplementary budget, the committee recommends as follows: that this Honorable House do pass the 2023 supplementary budget of 150 billion naira, made up of 50 billion, 310 million, 140,850 naira for revenue for recurrent services and 99 billion, 689 million, 859,150 naira for capital expenditure as contained in Schedules 1 and 2, and that this House do pass the revised budget of 850.
The House was dissolved into the Committee on the Whole, with the Speaker Demo Tong as chairman, where the report, among other 5 reports, were conceded. The motion to pass the report was moved by the Deputy Leader Tabong Bob and was seconded by the member representing Nsiribom State Constituency, Eric Akpan. The bill, amongst 5 others, were thus read the 3rd time and passed into law, with the Speaker directing the Clerk of the House, Nsika Kabasio Rock, to communicate decisions of the House to the Executive.
The Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 be read the 3rd time and passed into law. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Accordingly, the Akwa Ibom State Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 is hereby read the 3rd time and passed into law. This is the law of the land. The clerk is hereby directed to communicate same His Excellency the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State.
Other bills read for the 3rd time and passed into law were a bill for a law to establish Ibom Community Watch and for Connected Purposes 2023, a bill for a law to establish Akwa Ibom State Security Trust Fund Law 2023, a law to make special provisions for statutory boards in Akwa Ibom State and for other matters connected therewith, a bill for a law to amend the Traditional Rulers Law Cap 115 Laws of Akwa Ibom State 2023, and a bill for a law to establish Akwa Ibom State Bureau of Statistics and Akwa Ibom State Statistical System, and for other matters connected therewith. The House was subsequently adjourned to Tuesday, October 10, 2023. In a related development, the Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Demo Tong, has reassured the general Akwa Ibom public of the continued responsiveness of the 8th Assembly to their yearnings and needs, while working closely with the Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino in interpreting the Arise agenda through lawmaking and its various oversight functions. Otong, in a speech celebrating the 8th Assembly on its 100 days milestone, expressed recommitment to constructive dialogue, while assuring of commitment to creating an environment where lawmakers will feel valued, supported and empowered to discharge their duties effectively.
We are so indebted to our constituencies for trusting us with this important mandate. In addition to our legislative duties, I have prioritized fostering a culture of inclusivity and respect within the 8th Assembly. It is my firm belief that we can achieve our goals effectively when we engage in constructive dialogue. A careful tally of our activities in the first 100 days of our operation indicates that the 8th Assembly has been fully 20 people's oriented views, and 48 motions which are currently at different levels of legislative processes. In addition to various engagement by honorable members within their constituencies, it is clear that our responsiveness is top-notch and that the 8th Assembly is more than alive to the hearing of the general.
The Speaker expressed indebtedness to their various constituencies for finding them fit to represent them and thanked his colleagues for reposing trust in him, while reiterating commitment to serving the people and giving a listening ear to all voices. On the national scene now, joint security forces have uncovered an illegal gun manufacturing syndicate with a factory located in Kafanchan, Jammu local government area of Kaduna State. Weapons of different shapes, including combat gears, cache of arms and military camouflage, among other things, were recovered from the factory. According to sources from the Operation Safe Haven, troops of Hakarin Damisa 4, through a week-long intelligence operations, captured a wanted gun runner who has been on the wanted list of Operation Safe Haven for security breach within southern Kaduna and environs. The suspect eventually led troops to the concealed factory where arms of different caliber were produced and disposed to merchants of crisis in Kaduna and Plateau states. A thorough search of the factory led to the recovery of 22 different weapons comprising 7 pistols, 2 locally fabricated AK-47 rifles, 2 military-grade AK-47 rifles and 9 revolvers. Other items recovered included a submachine gun, rounds of 7.62 mm, special ammunition, machine tools and gas cylinder for welding. In another sting operation, troops raided another hideout in Adwa village of Kafanchan and recovered a cache of arms, military and police uniforms, as well as masks and other dangerous weapons. General Officer commanding 3 Division of the Nigerian Army and Commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdul Salam Abubakar, commended troops for their doggedness and resilience and assured that all fleeing syndicate members will be arrested and made to face the full wrath of the law. Moving on now, the Minister of Interior Lubumi Tunjojo has said over 4,000 inmates are held in custodial centers across the country over their inability to pay fines slammed on them by judges and magistrates. This was as he lamented that over 70% of the total population in the nation's custodial centers are awaiting trial. He noted that the number of inmates in the correctional facilities would reduce to 40% if non-custodial alternatives as provided for in the Correctional Service Act are explored. A statement on Saturday by the minister's media advisor Alao Babatunde said he spoke when the ambassador of the European Union to Nigeria, Samuela Isopi, visited him at his office in Abuja. The minister stated that the EU could support the country in deploying technology to buffer and enhance border management architecture within the country. Away from that now, the Minister of Power, Bayo Delabu, has said the federal government is working towards generating 20,000 megawatts of electricity by 2026 and 60,000 megawatts by 2060. The minister disclosed this in Oshobo, Osun State capital during his visit to the National Control Center of the Transmission Company of Nigeria on Friday. Adelabu revealed the short and long-term plans of the ministry towards increasing power generation, transmission and distribution in Nigeria. In education now, the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, has said it has plans to introduce the computer-based test CBT mode in the administration of its examinations. Patrick Aregan, WAEC's head of National Office, HNO, gave a hint in an interview on Saturday. Aregan said introducing the CBT mode of administering some of the council's examinations had been part of his vision for the body. He further stated that the council should be able to conduct CBT examinations even if it means starting with the objective questions. He added that WAEC may have a segregated market, adding that those who cannot afford the CBT will go for the pencil and paper mode. Well, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria on Friday vowed to ground economic activities in Lagos State as part of its protest against the ban on the operations of its affiliated union, the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, by the state government. It also directed its members to mobilize for a one-day protest on Monday in preparation for withdrawal of service. The national president of the TUC, Festus Osifo, who made this known during a press briefing in Abuja, said all affiliate unions of the TUC, including the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, Association of Senior Staff of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions, among others, are expected to join the action. Osifo said the TUC had employed all the necessary tools of engagement for amicable resolution, including writing letters and holding meetings with the Lagos state government on the issue, adding that the RTEN also went to court and got a judgment from the National Industrial Court, which said the state government had no powers to proscribe a trade union legally registered by the federal government. Osifo added that the state government refused to allow the union operate, saying that TUC would utilize trade unionism powers to protest the ban on its affiliate union. The Labour leader also called on the Ministry of Labour and Employment, which has the power to register and deregister trade unions, to caution the Lagos state government. To Benue State now, where the Governorship Elections Petition Tribunal sitting in Makadi on Saturday upheld the election of Governor Hyacinth Alia of the All Progressives Congress APC. The tribunal dismissed the petition of the People's Democratic Party and its governorship candidate Titus Umba, challenging the election held on the March 18 for lack of jurisdiction to entertain the matter. The Independent National Electoral Commission had declared Alia the winner of the poll, with 473,933 votes ahead of his closest rival Uba, who scored 223,913 votes. Chairman of the three-man panel of justices, Justice Ibrahim Karaye, held that the tribunal has no jurisdiction to entertain the petition, as the matter raised before the tribunal are pre-election issues as captured in Section 285 of the Electoral Act. Moving on now, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has given contractors handling remedial works on federal roads in Abuja and Port Harcourt 2 weeks to complete their respective works. Umahi gave the ultimatum while inspecting ongoing road projects in Rivers State and environs within the week. He also directed state controllers of works to ensure that only road projects where motorists can go through the length and breadth are given certificates of payment for him to sign. Umahi equally announced that the federal government will no longer accept road contract certificate for payment generated by one person. A statement by the Director of Information, Press and Public Relations Unit of the Ministry, Blessing Larry Adams, quoted the minister as saying this while inspecting some roads within Rivers and Akwa Ibom states. In the meantime, the federal government has said that this year's Independence Day celebration on October 1 will be low profile and will not feature the usual ceremony at Eagle Square, Abuja. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, said this year's Independence Day would be a time for reflections to think deeply as a people and the journey forward. Akume revealed this to newsmen after he emerged from closed-door talks with Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. The former Minister of Special Duties, who was allegedly reluctant to reveal the full details of issues discussed, said it bordered on plans for the Independence Day. Elsewhere, 16 Nigerian teachers will be departing for Liberia under the Technical Aid Corps and at the request of the Liberian government. The Director General of the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, Yusuf Yakub, said this at the pre-departure program for the volunteers. Yakub, while stating that the volunteer teachers were picked after a rigorous and painstaking process, congratulated the successful candidates and charged them to be good Nigerian ambassadors in Liberia. The Director General also hinted that another batch of volunteers would be deployed in the next 2 weeks. According to him, there were lots of requests on the table for African, Caribbean and Pacific countries asking for volunteers from Nigeria. In another development, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission (RAMFAC) says a total of 5 trillion naira has accrued into the Federation account for the period between January and June 2023. According to reports, the figure was captured in the monthly report to the Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) under the caption CBN Federation Account Component Statement. The RAMFAC chairman Mohammed Shehu in a statement said, out of the total gross revenue inflows into the Federation account, a sum of 627.3 billion naira was NNPCL JV Petroleum Profit Tax (PPT) due, captured and recorded by the FIRS, but utilized by the NNPCL for other federal government obligations. According to the statement, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission remitted the sum of 823.5 billion naira, while the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) made a gross collection of 3.658 billion naira, but remitted 3.28 billion naira, retaining the difference as cost of collection. In education now, the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC), Brigadier General Yushau Ahmed, has assured that efforts are ongoing to secure the release of the remaining five prospective corps members abducted in Zamfara. Ahmed made this known at an interactive session with the House of Representatives Committee on Youth Development within the week in Abuja. He explained that out of the 8 prospective corps members abducted in August 2023 on their way to the orientation camp in Sokoto State, 3 had been released. The DG said that all relevant security agencies are working in synergy with the traditional and religious leaders to secure the release of the 5 remaining. Ahmed said that the released corps members had been redeployed to the FCT and given proper medication and medical attention. So in education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) of the Taraba State University (TSU) has identified lack of proper funding as a major factor impacting negatively on the smooth running of the university. The leadership of the union made this known within the week at a press briefing in Jalingo, the state capital. Led by its chairman, Mbave Joshua Garba, the union also identified the non-implementation of Law No. 4 of the Taraba State House of Assembly and urged the state government to do the needful to prevent the institution from collapse. Away from that, former Governor Abba Yusuf has vowed to appeal the judgment sacking him as the governor of Kano State, while the All Progressives Congress (APC's) Nasiru Gawuna was declared the winner of the March 18 election by the Kano State Governorship Election Tribunal. The New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) flag bearer in the exercise claimed the judgment is a misapplication of the law. Yusuf, while reiterating that the people of Kano voted for him, expressed confidence in reclaiming the mandate. He called for calmness and adherence to the rule of law among Kano residents, urging them not to take matters into their hands. In a separate development, the Enugu State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal has dismissed the petition of Chris Agu of the People's Redemption Party (PRP) against Peter Mba for alleged forged National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) certificate, non-qualification and corruption. The PRP had claimed that Mba entered a plea bargain with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) in the past, but the tribunal, chaired by Justice Kudirat Akano, within the week held that the petitioner failed to prove that the respondent did not possess the minimum requirements to stand for election, which is a school certificate or its equivalent. According to him, there is no evidence to support the claim that Mba is not qualified to stand for the election. In a related development, Governor Peter Mba has lauded the decision of the tribunal, describing it as victory for democracy and the people of Enugu State. Mba, who also extended hands of fellowship to the opposition candidates and their political parties, said the task to build Enugu remained a collective one, adding that he was committed to working with all irrespective of political persuasions. The tribunal, chaired by Justice Kudirat Akano, had earlier in the day dismissed the petitions of the governorship candidate of the PRP, Chris Agu, and the candidate of the LP, Chijioke Edoga. In a separate development, after what looked like a protracted crisis, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shuaibu, apologized to his boss, Governor Godwin Obaseki, within the week and begged for forgiveness. He apologized after his investiture by Catholic Man Organization Nigeria CMN. Speaking to journalists shortly after the investiture, Shuaibu asked Obaseki to forgive and forget, just as he announced that he had relocated to his new office in accordance with the governor's directive. However, he added that there are still some work to be done in his new office located at 7 Osadebe Avenue. Still to come in the news. NBS says Abia, Niger, Abuja recorded highest prices of diesel. Please stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where the head of Sudan's army has told the media he is willing to talk to the commander of rebel forces whom he is battling for control of the country. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan said he was ready, in principle, to sit with Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, leader of the Rapid Support Forces RSF. Now, the two men have been fighting a brutal internal war since April, which the UN says has left more than 5,000 people dead. It says that more than 5 million people have been displaced. General Burhan, who seized power in a coup in 2021, was speaking to media in a rare interview after addressing the UN General Assembly in New York. He heads the Sudanese Armed Forces SAF and is on a global diplomatic tour seeking international support and some kind of legitimacy for his leadership, despite his failure to hand power to civilian authorities. The general denied his forces were targeting civilians, despite the UN and charities saying there is evidence they are launching indiscriminate airstrikes on residential areas. He said he was confident of victory, but admitted he had been forced to relocate his headquarters to Port Sudan because the fighting in the capital, Khartoum, had made it impossible for government to continue. At least 49 persons were arrested in Ghana's capital, Accra, on Thursday as the police tried to prevent protesters trying to storm the seat of power, Jubilee House, on Thursday over a lingering economic crisis. The police, according to eyewitnesses, physically assaulted the protesters who had gathered in their red and black attires to show anger over hardship in the West African country. Some journalists were also picked up and later released. The protest was organized by Democracy Hub, a governance advocacy group, which condemned the use of brute force to thwart a peaceful protest. According to a statement issued on Thursday, it said they have proven that they are indeed not timid people. The statement added, and a police spokesperson, Juliana Obang, did not comment on the abuse but said they were picked up in connection with an unlawful assembly, citing a last-minute court process by the police to stop the planned demonstration. Away from that, a lock of hair from a young Ethiopian prince who died over 140 years ago has been handed over in the UK to representatives from his home country. In 1868, British soldiers took Prince Alemayehu away after invading the fortress of his father, Emperor Tewodros II, who then killed himself. The Crown Prince died aged 18 in 1879 after an unhappy upbringing in Britain. He was buried at Windsor Castle near London, but recent requests to have his body returned have been turned down. One of the prince's relatives, Fasil Minas, expressed hope that the handing over of the prince's hair could pave the way for his body to go back to Ethiopia at a ceremony in London on Thursday evening. Ethiopia's ambassador to the UK, Teferi Melesi, took possession of the lock of hair as well as a number of other artifacts that had been looted from Emperor Tewodros' Magdala fortress. He welcomed their return, saying that they will go back to their rightful place where they can continue to inspire and educate generations to come. He further said that Ethiopia would continue to press the UK to return more items seized from the fortress. The prince was taken to London aged just 7, where his status as an orphan elicited the sympathy of Queen Victoria. She agreed to support him financially and put him under the guardianship of Captain Tristram Charles Sawyer Speedy, the man who had accompanied the prince from Ethiopia. The Scheherazade Foundation, which facilitated the return of the lock of hair, said it had originally been in the possession of Captain Speedy. Leonie Turner, a descendant of Speedy, who handed over the hair in London, told media that she had discovered the artifact among her family heirlooms. Away from that, 2 men face multiple charges of attempted murder in South Africa after around 90 children fell ill from eating drug-laced muffins. Officials said the children bought the muffins from a street vendor on their way to Pulamadimbogo Primary School, northwest of Pretoria. Many were taken to hospital for nausea, stomach pain and vomiting, and 3 girls remain in hospital. The 2 suspects, aged 21 and 19, were on Friday charged with attempted murder. The Gauteng Provincial Education Department said teachers had called an ambulance after noticing their children had begun behaving strangely in class. It said the incident had caused considerable distress to parents who were worried about their children's safety. The police, who are conducting a toxicology report to confirm if cannabis was used, say more than 90 pupils received the muffins and suffered serious pains. On the foreign scene now, U.S. President Joe Biden plans to give Ukraine advanced long-range missiles to help Kyiv with its ongoing counteroffensive. According to U.S. media reports, they quote U.S. officials familiar with the issue as saying Ukraine will get some 80 ACMS missiles with a range of up to 190 miles, and this would help and enable Kyiv hit Russian targets deep behind the front line. At least 2 Ukrainian missiles hit the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet in annexed Crimea on Friday. A Ukrainian military source further told media that the attack in the port of Sevastopol used Storm Shadow missiles, which are supplied by Britain and France. Such missiles have a range of just over 150 miles. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a forceful rebuke to Russian genocide from the floor of Canada's parliament as he continues to rally support for his war-torn country. He told a packed House of Commons in Ottawa on Friday that Moscow, now as always, is bent on controlling Ukraine and makes use of all available means to do that, including genocide. Zelensky's fiery speech delivered in English marks his latest appeal to world leaders as he completes a whirlwind tour of North America, which began earlier last week with an appearance at the United Nations in New York. The Ukrainian leader's warm reception in Canada marked a stark contrast to what he experienced a day before when he visited the U.S. legislature in Washington, D.C. There, Zelensky faced a Republican Party more vocal about curtailing support for Ukraine as the deadline to pass budget legislation looms, with just over a week remaining. The Ukrainian president's request to speak before a joint session of the U.S. Congress was also declined, with House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy telling reporters they just did not have the time. Away from that, a veteran U.S. senator has temporarily stepped down as head of the chamber's powerful Foreign Relations Committee as he battles bribery charges. Justice Department prosecutors allege Robert Menendez and his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in exchange for aid to Egypt's government. The couple have denied the charges. The embattled senator rejected calls from fellow Democrats back in his home state of New Jersey to resign his seat. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said on Friday that Menendez had decided to step down as chairman of the influential committee until the matter has been resolved. The New York Democrat said his colleague was a dedicated public servant and is always fighting hard for the people of New Jersey. Pope Francis has called on European nations to show greater tolerance towards migrants during a visit to the southern French city of Marseille. Speaking at a meeting of bishops and young people from Mediterranean countries, the pontiff said those who risk their lives at sea do not invade. French President Emmanuel Macron was among the audience for the address. It comes as the migration debate has been reignited by mass arrivals on the Italian island of Lampedusa last week. Now, France's Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin, who greeted the Pope upon his arrival in Marseille on Friday, said the country would not welcome any migrants coming from the island. Some 8,500 people arrived on Lampedusa on 199 boats between Monday and Wednesday last week, according to the UN's International Organization for Migration. Pope Francis said on Saturday that migration was not an emergency, but rather a reality of the times, a process that involves 3 continents around the Mediterranean and that must be governed with wise foresight, including a European response. He also called for an ample number of legal and regular entrances for migrants, particularly those fleeing war, hunger and poverty, rather than on preservation of one's own well-being. Thailand's opposition Move Forward Party MFP has named a new leader after Peter Limjaroenrat, who led the party to a stunning election victory in May, was thwarted in his efforts to become premier. Chaithawat Chulathan, a former political magazine editor, will now head MFP, the party said on Saturday. The newly elected party leader studied environmental engineering at university and has been involved in Thailand's progressive political movement for more than 5 years. Co-founding MFP's predecessor party, MFP won the most seats in parliament at this year's election on a wave of youth and urban support over its anti-establishment policies. The party will now lead the opposition after conservative lawmakers and an unelected Senate blocked its attempts to form a government. Peter stepped down as party leader earlier this month amid a host of legal and legislative challenges that many see as part of a pattern by the pro-military and royalist establishment to diminish a new generation of leaders. Now, in a separate development, people living with long COVID after being admitted to hospital are more likely to show some damage to major organs, according to a new study. MRI scans revealed patients were 3 times more likely to have some abnormalities in multiple organs such as the lungs, brain and kidneys. Researchers believe there is a link with the severity of the illness. It is hoped that the UK study will help in the development of more effective treatments for long COVID. A study published in Lancet Respiratory Medicine looked at 259 patients who fell so ill with the virus that they were admitted to hospital. 5 months after they were discharged, MRI scans of their major organs showed some significant differences when compared to a group of 52 people who had never had COVID. The biggest impact was seen on the lungs, where the scans were 14 times more likely to show abnormalities. MRI scans were also 3 times more likely to show some abnormalities in the brain and twice as likely in the kidneys among people who had had severe COVID. There was no significant difference in the health of the heart or liver. Now in Taiwan, Defense Minister has described China's increased military activities around the island as abnormal and warned that it increased the risk of an accidental clash and the situation getting out of hand. Over the past 2 weeks, dozens of Chinese fighter jets, drones, bombers and other aircraft as well as warships and the Chinese carrier, the Shandong, have been observed off democratically governed Taiwan, which Beijing claims as its own territory. Taiwan's Defense Minister Chu Kuo-cheng said on Saturday that the risk of an accidental clash is something they are very worried about. Speaking to reporters, Chu said the risks of activities involving aircraft, ships and weapons will increase, and both sides must pay attention. Warships from China's Southern and Eastern Theater Commands have been operating together off Taiwan's east coast, according to the minister, in apparent combat drills. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has hailed recent so-called normalization deals between Israel and Arab states, stressing that Palestinians must not have veto over such agreements. Speaking to the United Nations General Assembly on Friday morning, Netanyahu lauded the prospect of formal relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, underscoring the United States' role in efforts to broker a pact between the two countries. The Israeli Prime Minister also condemned the Iranian government and called on the international community to take a more stern position against Tehran. Netanyahu outlined what he called his vision for peace in the Middle East, in which Arab states would embrace Israel regardless of the Palestinian issue. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has said its forces have conducted air attacks on the blockaded Gaza Strip, where protesters have had confrontations for days with Israeli troops along the separation fence. The military said the drone strikes targeted 2 military posts belonging to Hamas movement governing the Gaza Strip, while a tank hit another post from which shots were fired on troops confronting protesters. The Hamas-affiliated radio station Aqsa said 2 people had been wounded in the strikes in Al-Maghazi refugee camp. El Sayed said drones had appeared overhead in a matter of minutes, dropping stun grenades and tear gas canisters on the heavily populated area. Meanwhile, tanks positioned on the border shot artillery shells at the Palestinian enclave, according to correspondents. Now in business, Abia, Niger and the FCT recorded the highest diesel price nationwide. The National Bureau of Statistics diesel price data for August disclosed this on Friday. Accordingly, the data reported the price of diesel per litre in Abia State to be 970 naira, Niger State 960.14 naira, and Abuja 950.22 naira in August. Meanwhile, the states with the lowest price of diesel per litre, Bayelsa State with 700 naira, Katsina State 771.43 naira, and Kaduna State 775.42 naira. MBS stated that in August, the price of diesel increased by 8.57% to 854.32 per litre in August 2023 from 786.88 naira per litre recorded in the corresponding month. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has postponed the 293rd Monetary Policy Committee MPC meeting scheduled for Monday and Tuesday, September 25 and 26, 2023. This was disclosed in a Thursday press statement by the bank's Director of Corporate Communications, Dr. Issa Abdulmumin, but no reason was given for the decision. The development comes 2 months after the Apex Bank met and raised the monetary policy rate MPR, which measures interest rate from 18.5% to 18.75%. The then CBN acting governor Folashodun Shonubi had told journalists that hiking the interest rate has made a lot of difference in moderating the rate of inflation. The CBN MPC voted to hike MPR by 25 basis points to 18.75% from 18.5%. The committee narrowed asymmetric corridor to plus 100/minus 300 from plus 100 minus 700 and retained the cash reserve ratio CRR at 32.5%. The postponement of the September MPC meeting may not be unconnected with the non-confirmation of the newly appointed governor and deputy governors of the bank. President Bola Tinubu had last Friday nominated Olayemi Cardoso as the new CBN chief. If confirmed by the Senate, Cardoso will replace the acting CBN governor Folashodun Shonubi. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has introduced an online platform for the submission of microfinance bank license applications. The new platform, named the CBN Licensing Approval and Other Requests Portal, will replace the traditional manual process through which prospective MFB license applicants previously submitted their applications to the CBN. This was disclosed in a statement by its Director, Corporate Communications, Issa Abdulmumin, on the website of the Apex Bank. According to reports from September 25, 2023, prospective MFB applicants are urged to log on to www.larp.cbn.gov.ng to submit their respective MFB license applications. Help and detailed guidance are available within CBN LARP to assist users in navigating the new platform. A user guide can also be downloaded from the platform. Still in business, Meta, a global tech firm, plans to launch a verification badge for WhatsApp businesses soon. Meta's VP of Business Messaging, Nikhila Srinivasan, confirmed the development on Wednesday. The firm said it will soon begin to make it possible for businesses to receive verification from Meta to help users know they are chatting with the right business. Accordingly, to become Meta verified, businesses must demonstrate their authenticity to Meta and in return receive a verified badge, enhanced account support and impersonation protection. Also, the firm announced the launching of Flows, a feature that will allow businesses offer the full range of their services without the user leaving the chat. Still to come in the news. Leaders Manchester City beat Nottingham Forest 2-0 in dramatic Premier League tie. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to health, where the Jigawa State Ministry of Health has confirmed an outbreak of diphtheria in the state, with no fewer than 91 suspected cases and 10 deaths. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Salisu Mwazu, made this known while addressing newsmen in Dotse on Friday. He disclosed that 2 confirmed cases had been identified in Kazore and Jahun local government areas, with additional samples sent to Abuja for examination. He further emphasized that the state government had been proactive in responding to the situation, especially following reports of diphtheria outbreaks in neighboring states like Kano and Yobe.